Sotah Daf Chavav begins with the Gemara's discussion about an islandess, whether or not she can be a Sotah. So the Gemara has just said, that Rav Nachman said, there is no machlekes that an islandess can never be a Sotah because the Torah says about a woman who drinks the Sotah water and is pure, V'nix of an Israel Zara, that she'll have a child, but an islandess can never do that, so therefore she's excluded altogether from the parsha of Sotah. What's Rav Nachman's opinion? The Gemara is going to ask a kasha on that from a lengthy brisa, which lists a number of people who are either exempt from drinking the Sotah water and don't lose the ksuba, or who are chayav to drink the Sotah water and do lose the ksuba if they don't. An islandess will be the last one on the list, which will clearly show, not like Rav Nachman, that an islandess is in the parsha of Sotah. So let's see the lengthy brisa. So the brisa says that somebody who does kinoi for his arusa or shemaras yavam, that is a woman who is going to marry but not married to yet fully because she just has kiddushin, or she's just falling into yibum. So the first half of this mishnah, the first half of this brisa is going to list situations in which it's not a full kinoi stira. So if he's mekane her, and then before the marriage happens, she goes and she has stira, so she doesn't drink the Sotah water. She doesn't have to drink the Sotah water. She's not negated the Sotah water, but she still doesn't get her ksuba because it's her fault that she did stira and therefore lost her rights. Now, if somebody marries a woman who's pregnant or nursing the child of another man, so again, she does not drink the Sotah water and she does not get her ksuba. At least that's Rabbi Meir's opinion, and the Chachamim disagree because Rabbi Meir holds that he can't stay married to her. He's not allowed to marry her while she's pregnant or nursing someone else's child, and because he went ahead and he did it anyway, he has to divorce her, and as a knas, he's not allowed to remarry her even after that period will end. Therefore, he can never be married to her, and therefore she's not really l'kaima, and there's no din of Sotah on a woman who can't be married to this man. Now, that's Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim disagree, and the Chachamim say there's no such knas, and therefore he could divorce her now and marry her later, and therefore she is Ruya L'Kaima, and therefore she does have the parsha of Sotah, does apply to her. Now, what about someone who is young and is married to an older woman who's too old to have children? So again, the first discussion in the brisa is if he is too young, he was not Makayim the Mitzvah Puravu yet, and he's married to someone who he can never be Makayim Puravu with because either she's in a kara or she's too old. So he can't stay married to her. So here you have machlokes again, just like we saw this in our last mishnah. So on this, the Tanna Kama says she does drink the Sotah water, but she also doesn't get her ksuba because she's not royal kaima, because he can't stay married to her. Rabbi Lazar says no, he could stay married to her, he just has to marry someone else to be mekayim the mitzvah of puravu. Therefore, she is royal kaima, and she should drink the Sotah water. Now the brisa goes into contrasts. So let's say he does kinoi on his arusa or shemaras yavam, and then after they get married, then she's nistera. So here she's fully obligated. She has to drink the Sotah water, and if she doesn't, she loses her ksuba. Somebody who is a meuberes uminekes with his own child. So there she's fully obligated. She has to drink the Sotah water, and if she doesn't, she loses her ksuba. The Gemara will discuss what the chiddush is. Next, if you have a young man who is married to an older woman or an akara who cannot have children, but this young man already has a wife and a child, so again, there's no p'tur. She has to drink the Sotah water, otherwise she loses her ksuba. Now, anyone who's legally married to a mamzer, so the wife of a mamzer, or anyone who's legally married to a nisin, the wife of a ger or a freed eved, and now our final example, or an islandess. All these have a full obligation to drink, and if they don't, they lose their ksuba. So you see here clearly that an islandess is in the parsha, not like what Rav Nachman said. So it's a kasha on Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman answers, it's a machlokes tanoim. This is the shita of the chachamim, but there's Rishon ben Elazar who says just like me. And he quotes a brisa where Rabbi Elazar says that an islandess does not drink, and she doesn't lose, and she loses her ksuba, but she doesn't drink the Sotah water because it says v'niksa v'nizra zera. She's clean. She will have children, and she cannot Pider Chateva have children. Now, so the Gemara asks, now the Rabbanan, what do they do with this? Pasuk of Nixon and Israel Zera. So the Gemara says that's to teach something else, that if she was in a kara, she will start having children if she drank the Sotah water. That's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. And Rabbi Shmuel says it can't be, because then every woman who doesn't have children, any woman who's in a kara, will just make herself into a saita. She'll have kinei and stira. and she'll therefore be healed, and she'll have a child. The only one who'll get stuck is the tzniwa woman who doesn't want to have stira with a man that she's not supposed to. So, what then is the meaning of an iksa of nizra zera? That if she was giving birth painfully, she'll give birth without pain. If she had girls, she'll start having boys. If her children were too long or too dark, then she won't have those mumen any longer. The Gemara now continues working through the Brisa and explaining it, and then it'll return to our Mishnah and keep explaining what the Chidushim there are. So as far as Mu'beres Atzmai, the Chiddush is that she can still drink the water even though she may end up causing the death of the child. The Gemara now discusses a wife of a mamzer. She's allowed to be married to the mamzer. What's the chiddush that she drinks the sotah water? Versus the chiddush is that the whole purpose of drinking the sotah water is to allow her to be mutter to her husband. We may think we don't want her to be mutter to her husband because they'll create more mamzerim in the world. Perhaps we want to minimize mamzerim. This teaches that that's not the case. Next, the Gemara wants to know why does it say that the wife of a ger and an evan mashuchor and an islandess? What's the chiddush in that? So the Gemara says, what's the chiddush in the ger and the evan mashuchar? So the Gemara says because it says dabra b'nei Yisrael, that might exclude gerim from that. So this is the Gemara says, how do you know not? The Gemara says because later it says omarta is a repetitive word to teach you that you do include them. That is a riboy. Now the Mishnah it said that the wife of a Kohen drinks. So what's the chiddush in that? Of course she does. Chiddush is you may have had a limit from the pasuk otherwise, because it says that she was not forced. So the V'hiloi Nispasa means we must be talking about a Yisraelis, an Ashes Yisrael, because otherwise, what's the significance in her not being forced? Even if she was forced, she's asked to her husband. So therefore, we must be talking about an Ashes Yisrael, and about an Ashes Kohen, you wouldn't have this entire sugya. So that would teach me that the Ashes Kohen doesn't have Sotah. So therefore, the Mishnah comes to teach me, no, there is a parsha of Sotah even on an Ashes Kohen. Now the Mishnah then said that after the Ashes Kohen drinks, she's mutter to her husband. What's the chiddush in that? Of course she is. The Mishnah says it's talking about when she starts to get sick. So the Mishnah says if she got sick, that proves that she was mizana. She has this chus, and therefore she didn't die yet, but that's why things are beginning. The Mishnah says no, she's beginning to get sick, but not in the way of normal sotah. She's getting sick in her limbs, in her head, she's getting headaches, she's getting weak, but you don't have a situation where she's showing the pattern of sotah. So you may think that the pshat in that is that was a mizana ba'ones. She was forced. So for Ashes Yisrael, this makes no difference if it was forced or not at all. Either way, she's mutter. But for Ashes Kohen, if we're going to draw the conclusion that she was forced, she'll be usher to her husband, because an Ashes Kohen who was forced, who was raped, is usher to her husband. Kamash no, that's not the pshat. Now, the Gemara continues. We had seen the Mishnah says that the wife of a sris drinks the sotah water. What's the chiddush in that? Sris is a man who has been emasculated. So Gemara says because the Torah says that the Kohen makes her promise that no one was with her mibaladei sheikh besides her husband. That might exclude someone who cannot have normal interaction, and that's to teach me that no, that exclusion is not correct. Next, the Gemara wants to know why does it say that you can have the man can be any of the arayas. What's the chiddush in that? So what's the chiddush is because it says nitma twice. One to teach me that she becomes usher to her husband. One to teach me that she becomes usher to the person that she was with. So you may think that it has to be that she's only becoming usher to that person now, but she was otherwise munter to him. And therefore, if he was an erva to her, if he was her brother or father or something, then it wouldn't apply. That's not a correct drasha. The Gemara goes further. We had said that a katan cannot be the source of kinoi. You cannot be warned against the katan. The reason is because it says ish. The Torah refers to the one that she's been warned against as an ish. Katan's not an ish. Next, the Mishnah said, and not someone who is an enoi ish, someone who is not a man. He's not included in kinoi. A warning can't be against him. So the Gemara says, what does this mean? Someone who's not a man. So the Gemara tries a few choices. The Gemara's first is that he's a shachaf, someone who has shachafas. That is a disease which makes him very weak and doesn't have a lot of strength. So the Gemara has it said that warning her not to be alone with him doesn't count. So the Gemara says it can't be because we have Shmuel. Shmuel said that a shachov is a subject of kinoi, and he does passel a woman for truma. That is, if he has bia with a woman who is a Ashes Kohen or a Bas Kohen, he passels her. She becomes a chalala from being able to eat truma if he was someone who, because of his halachic status, would passel her. And the Gemara said, we discussed it. What's the chiddush in each of those halachas? The chiddush that he passels, that he's available for kinoi, is because it says v'shachav ish osa, it has to be someone who is able to do shechvas zera, and he cannot. Kamashman, that he answers anyway, and that's not a drasha. And that he passes truma, again, you would have thought that it has to be someone who can have children, because it says lo yichalal zaro, to teach that the children become chalalim from this interaction, the interaction which creates an iser chalala on the mother and asers her from truma. So this man cannot have children, and therefore he will not have a yichalal, cannot have both of them, cannot have an effect on the child. So you would think that therefore he's excluded from that, but that's also wrong. But anyway, so you see from this halacha of Shmuel that it's not correct to say that a shachov is not in the parsha of kinoi. So the Gemara says, and then maybe, so who is referred to by someone who's any ish? So the Gemara says maybe refers to an avid kechavim. Avid kechavim might not be included in the term ish. So the Gemara says that's not true either, because Rav Hamnuna said, very similar to what we said before about Shmuel, Rav Hamnuna said that an avid kechavim is susceptible to the halachos of kinoi, and he apostles an eshes kohen for truma. Now, what's the chiddush in that? So the chiddush that he asers her for kinoi, because it says nitma twice. One to teach that she becomes usher on her husband after kinoi, and one to teach that she becomes usher on the person she was warned against after kinoi. And you may think that it has to be that it's creating this in the first place, just like we said earlier about the arayas. It's creating this in the first place, and that there wouldn't otherwise be an iser, as opposed to an akam where there isn't otherwise iser. Kamashman, that's not a true halacha. Now, what is the chiddush of the fact that he passes over truma? And that's because it says bas kohen kisiya leish zor. It has to be someone who could have siya, someone who could have a vaya, as opposed to the akam where there's no possible havaya. Therefore, she might be excluded. Kamashma or not. How do we know that halacha? So the Gemara brings a drasha from Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan says in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, how do you know that an eved kechavim and an eved that come on a kohenes or a levia and a mas Yisrael, that they passel her for truma? Because the Torah says baskan kisiya almana grusha, that bas kohen, when she becomes widowed or divorced, she goes back to her father's house and she eats truma from him. If she had been married to a Yisrael or to a Levi, she didn't eat truma while she was married. Now that she's no longer married, she goes back to her father's status and she eats truma from her father's house. So this only applies to an almana or a grusha from someone who she was married to. That's as opposed to if she was with an eved kechavim,